NEO-DARWINISM. Unit 2. Topic 2.1 Part B. Ism. Unit 2. Topic 2.1 Part B. Contents. Charles Darwin, 1809 to 1882. Early life. The voyage of the Beagle. Key locations Darwin visited. Theory of evolution. Impact of Darwin's work. Legacy. Charles Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection. Key components of Darwin's theory. Evidence supporting Darwin's theory. Darwin's influence. Criticism of theory. Modern revisions and NEO-Darwinism. Charles Darwin, 1809 to 1882. About. Charles Darwin, 1809 to 1882, was a groundbreaking naturalist, geologist, and biologist best known for developing the theory of evolution by natural selection. His work transformed biology and influenced many other fields of science and human thought. Here's a brief overview of his life and contributions. Early life. Born, February 12, 1809, in Shrewsbury, England. Darwin showed an early interest in natural history but initially studied medicine at the University of Edinburgh and later theology at the University of Cambridge. During his studies, he became passionate about natural science, particularly geology and biology. The voyage of the Beagle. In 1831, Darwin joined the H.M.S. Beagle as a naturalist for a 5-year journey around the world. During the voyage, Darwin collected specimens of plants, animals, and fossils, particularly in the Galapagos Islands. Observations from the Galapagos, e.g., finches with varying beak shapes, influenced his ideas on species adaptation. Key locations Darwin visited. 1. South America, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, Uruguay. Observed diverse ecosystems, including tropical rainforests, grasslands, and deserts. Noted fossils of extinct species, like giant sloths and armadillos, in Patagonia. Compared them to living species, recognizing similarities and differences. 2. Galapagos Islands, Ecuador. Observed unique species of finches, tortoises, and iguanas on different islands. Noted variations in finch beak shapes, which were adapted to different diets. Recognized that species were similar to those on the mainland, but had adapted to their environments. 3. Australia. Studied marsupials like kangaroos and platypuses. Noted differences between Australian species and those of other continents, pondering biogeographical distribution. 4. Cape Verde Islands. Observed marine fossils high in the volcanic rock, evidence of geological uplift. 5. South Africa, Cape of Good Hope. Compared African ecosystems and fauna to those in South America. Observed relationships between soil quality and vegetation. 6. Falkland Islands. Found fossils and observed behavior of native animals like the Falkland fox. Studied geological formations, enhancing his interest in earth sciences. Theory of evolution. Darwin's central idea was that species evolve over time through natural selection. Natural selection. Individuals with traits better suited to their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce, passing those traits on to the next generation. In 1859, Darwin published On the Origin of Species, a landmark book that provided extensive evidence for evolution. Impact of his work. Darwin's theory challenged the prevailing belief that species were unchanging and created in their present forms. His ideas laid the foundation for modern evolutionary biology and have been supported and refined by subsequent scientific research. Legacy. Darwin's work continues to be a cornerstone of biological sciences. He is commemorated through numerous awards, institutions, and species named in his honor. Darwin is buried in Westminster Abbey, near other scientific luminaries such as Isaac Newton. Charles Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection is one of the most important scientific theories in history. It explains how species evolve over time through a process of adaptation to their environment. Below are the key points of his theory. Key components of Darwin's theory. 1. Variation within species. Individuals within a species show variations in their traits, e.g., size, color, behavior. These variations are often hereditary. 2. Overproduction of offspring. Organisms produce more offspring than can survive in their environment due to limited resources. 3. Struggle for existence. Individuals compete for limited resources such as food, shelter, and mates. Only some individuals survive and reproduce. 4. Natural selection. Individuals with traits that are better suited to their environment, e.g., camouflage, speed, have a higher chance of survival and reproduction. These favorable traits are passed on to the next generation. 5. Descent with modification. Over generations, the accumulation of advantageous traits leads to changes in the population. This process can result in the formation of new species. 6. Common descent. All living organisms share a common ancestor, and species diverge over time through gradual changes. Evidence supporting Darwin's theory. Darwin provided multiple lines of evidence for his theory. Fossil record shows transitional forms between ancient and modern species. Biogeography, geographic distribution of species, e.g., Galapagos finches, demonstrates adaptation to different environments. Anatomy, homologous structures, similar structures in different species, suggest a common ancestry. Embryology, similar embryonic development among different species indicates shared origins. Darwin's influence. Darwin's ideas, presented in On the Origin of Species, 1859, challenged existing beliefs about the immutability of species and divine creation. His work laid the foundation for modern evolutionary biology and genetics, especially when combined with Gregor Mendel's discoveries of inheritance. Would you like more details about any specific aspect of his theory, or examples like the Galapagos finches? Charles Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection faced significant criticism from various quarters after its publication in 1859. The critiques came from religious, scientific, and philosophical perspectives, often reflecting the limited scientific knowledge of the time or opposition to its implications. Here are some notable criticisms and critics, along with their context and years. Criticism of theory. Religious criticism. 1. William Wilberforce, 1860. Criticism. The Bishop of Oxford argued that Darwin's theory contradicted the Bible's account of creation, undermining the special place of humans in nature. Event. Wilberforce famously debated Darwin's supporter Thomas Huxley at the 1860 Oxford University Museum debate. 2. General religious opposition, 19th century. Many religious figures viewed Darwin's theory as incompatible with the idea of divine creation. Objections included the denial of a purposeful creation and the suggestion that humans share ancestry with animals. Scientific criticism. 1. Lack of mechanism for inheritance, 1859 to 1900. Critics, various scientists, including Fleming-Jenkin, 1867. Criticism. Darwin's theory lacked a clear explanation for how traits were inherited. Jenkin argued that favorable traits would be diluted over generations, making evolution by natural selection ineffective. Resolution. This criticism was addressed after the rediscovery of Gregor Mendel's work on genetics in 1900. 2. George Mivart, 1871. Criticism. Mivart argued that natural selection could not explain the origin of complex structures, e.g., the eye, because intermediate stages would have no survival advantage. Counterargument. Darwin and later scientists showed that even partial structures can provide some advantage, contributing to their gradual evolution. 3. Louis Agassiz, 1860s. Criticism. Agassiz, a prominent geologist, rejected Darwin's theory based on his belief in a divine plan and argued that species were created separately and immutably. Impact. Agassiz's influence was significant, especially in America, but his views gradually waned as evidence for evolution grew. 4. Paleontological gaps, 1859, early 20th century. Criticism. Critics pointed to the incomplete fossil record and lack of transitional forms as evidence against Darwin's theory. Resolution. Over time, numerous transitional fossils, such as Archaeopteryx, 1861, were discovered, supporting evolution. Philosophical criticism. 1. Herbert Spencer, 1860s. Criticism. Spencer, a philosopher, popularized the phrase survival of the fittest but criticized Darwin for not emphasizing the role of acquired traits enough. Darwin's response. Darwin acknowledged Spencer's point but emphasized hereditary variation as the key to natural selection. 2. Samuel Butler, 1870s. Criticism. Butler argued that Darwin overlooked the role of intelligence and will in evolution, suggesting a more Lamarckian view, inheritance of acquired traits. Impact. While interesting, Butler's critiques did not gain widespread traction. Cultural and ideological criticism. 1. Karl Marx, 1860s-1880s. Criticism. Marx appreciated Darwin's materialism but criticized his application of competition in nature to human society, fearing it justified capitalist exploitation. 2. Social Darwinism, late 19th century. Darwin's theory was misapplied by thinkers like Herbert Spencer and Francis Galton to justify eugenics, racism, and imperialism, sparking ethical and political criticisms. Modern revisions and Neo-Darwinism. By the early 20th century, many criticisms of Darwin's original theory were addressed through the modern synthesis, 1930s, 1940s, which integrated Darwinian natural selection with Mendelian genetics. However, debates about specific mechanisms of evolution, e.g., gradualism versus punctuated equilibrium, continue to refine and expand evolutionary theory. Neo-Darwinism is the modern synthesis of Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection with the principles of genetics, primarily developed in the early 20th century. It incorporates the discoveries of Gregor Mendel's laws of inheritance, as well as advancements in molecular biology, population genetics, and evolutionary biology. Key features of Neo-Darwinism. 1. Genetics and inheritance. Evolution occurs through changes in the genetic composition of populations over generations. Genes are the fundamental units of heredity, and mutations provide the raw material for variation. 2. Natural selection. Selection acts on genetic variations, favoring traits that enhance survival and reproduction. Beneficial mutations become more common in a population over time. 3. Population genetics. Focuses on the genetic makeup of populations and how it changes due to factors like mutation, gene flow, genetic drift, and natural selection. Evolution is viewed as a change in allele frequencies within a gene pool. 4. Mutation. Mutations are random changes in DNA that introduce new genetic variation. While most mutations are neutral or harmful, some can be advantageous and drive adaptation. 5. Recombination. During sexual reproduction, genetic recombination creates new combinations of alleles, contributing to diversity. 6. Gradualism. Evolution typically occurs gradually through small genetic changes accumulating over long periods. Contrasts with theories like punctuated equilibrium, which propose periods of rapid change. 7. Reproductive isolation. New species arise when populations become isolated, geographically or otherwise, and genetic differences accumulate, preventing interbreeding. Contributions to evolutionary theory. Ernst Mayr, Theodosius Dobzhansky, J.B.S. Haldane, Ronald Fisher, and others were key figures in integrating genetics with Darwinian evolution. It explains microevolution, small-scale changes within populations, and serves as a framework for understanding macroevolution, larger evolutionary changes, such as speciation. Criticisms and extensions. While neo-Darwinism remains foundational, it has been critiqued and expanded to address epigenetics, heritable changes not involving DNA sequence alterations. Evo-devo, evolutionary developmental biology, how developmental processes influence evolution. Horizontal gene transfer, genetic exchange between different species, especially in microorganisms. Non-adaptive evolution, neutral theory of molecular evolution emphasizes genetic drift. Neo-Darwinism provides a robust framework for understanding evolution but continues to evolve as new discoveries refine our understanding of life's diversity. Upcoming topic 2.2. Some other theories of evolution. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. Follow Anthronet Academy. Stay connected. We're here to support your UGC NET exam journey to success.